All right, for this first page, if you look at each one of these questions, what is it that they're all asking for? What are we solving for? We're all solving for the hypotenuse 1 through 10. So, which is what we just did today, and everybody did really well. So, you can use the same formula that we just did, the square root of a squared plus b squared, and whatever that value is, that's going to be your answer. Okay, and that's going to be what you do for each one of these. Okay, so let's talk about number 1. We're going to take that square root of 9.8 squared plus 3.5 squared. Just enter that in. Now, it says round to the nearest tenth. Okay, the tenths place is that first decimal place, the 4. So it's 10.4. So don't forget that you were rounding. Okay, and the next one we would choose square root of 8.1 squared plus 12.8 squared. And we're going to get 15.1. I did have somebody ask me a little bit ago about how do I know what I'm going to round to. A lot of the time, so if you look at where you're supposed to be rounding to, the 1, look at the number after it. If that number is 5 or larger, round up. So instead of 1, it would be 2. But if it's less than 5, keep it the same. Okay, and we'll do one more. 6 squared plus 4.6 squared. Try to get comfortable putting this into the calculator. This is a very easy skill to master. So it's 7.56. So I'm going to round up to 7.6 or keep it 7.5. 7.6. Okay, turn over onto the back of that page. Okay, what is it that we are looking for on this side? We're solving for a leg on each one of these. So if you're solving for a leg, write that at the top. We're going to take the square root, and it's going to be of the hypotenuse squared minus the leg squared. Okay, hypotenuse is always the largest value. So for number 11, we would take the square root of 11 squared and subtract that leg squared, so 3 squared. When we press enter, okay, so it gives me 4 root 7. If you want to look at the decimal, press that double arrow key at the bottom. And it's going to be 10.58 and so on. 10.5, the closest thing is 10.6. Go ahead and try 13. So whenever you type in the calculator, you should have the square root of 12 squared minus 4 squared. Okay. And just press enter. And we have 11.31. That's going to be 11.3. All right, go to page 3 for me. What is page 3 asking us to do? Okay, so asking us to identify whether it is a right triangle or not. So we just see if a squared plus b squared does in fact equal c squared. So you're just checking to see if it forms a right angle. So remember from last week, we just took, so the two smaller values are the legs. So 6 squared plus 8 squared. Go ahead and calculate that. That's 100. And then check to see if 9 squared is the same thing. It's not. So what does that mean? That's no, not a right triangle. Okay, look at the section below that, 29 through 32. Okay, so this is going back over transformations. So we have a rotation of 90 degrees clockwise. Now the notes are still on the board over there. But 90 degrees clockwise means that we're going to take x and y, we're going to swap them, and then we're going to change that x. Okay, swap them and change the x. So if it was negative 5, 4, now it is 4, positive 5, which is answer choice D. If we do a translation, this one's just telling us how far to move it. It says 3 to the right. If we're moving left and right, which one is that? The x value or the y value? The x value. So add 3 to negative 2, which is going to be 1. So the correct answer choice is A. All right, if you do a reflection, you keep the reflected line the same. So we're going to keep y and change x. So this is going to be negative 4, negative 2. And the rotation of 180 degrees about the origin. 180 degrees, we just changed the sign. So opposite x, opposite y. So now it's negative 4, positive 3. All right, and on the back of that page, it's still reflections, rotations, and translations. Okay, so reflection across the x-axis, keep the x the same, change the y, so now it's positive 4, 2. 180 degrees, it was 1, 2, now what does it become? Yeah, negative 1, negative 2. 90 degrees counterclockwise, we take the x and y and we swap them and we change the y. So now this becomes negative 3, negative 2. A translation, now this is just the written rule instead of in words. So we subtract 6 from the x value and 3 from the y value. 5 minus 6 is negative 1. 1 minus 3, negative 2. So that's answer choice D. All right, and below that, it's another translation with the written rule. We're just subtracting 3 from each value. So negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4, and 4 minus 3 is 1. So make sure you're choosing that correct answer choice. Okay. Page 5 is reviewing back over slope. Okay, so we've seen these before. We're just hoping that you're getting more efficient at these. These long buck packets aren't taking you as long as they were. So finding the slope of a line, if they just give you the graph, count the rise and run. Pay attention to whether it's increasing or decreasing. Is this graph increasing or decreasing? Decreasing. So that means it's going to be a negative slope. So is it down 4 over 1 or down 1 over 4? Down 1 over 4, so that's C. And so then if you look at this one, increasing or decreasing? Decreasing, which means it's negative, so it's A or D. And then so is it going down 2 over 3 or down 3 over 2? So that's answer choice D. All right, for number 44 through 47, this one I get questions about all the time still. The formula you use is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so this one, if you set up the work, write it next to this problem for me today. 2 minus negative 10, just like that, over 1 minus 1. Well, 2 minus negative 10 is 12. 1 minus 1 is 0. If you type something divided by 0 in your calculator, you're going to get an error. What does that mean? It's undefined. Okay, finding the slope of a line from an equation. What do you look at to find the slope? Yeah, look at the x. What's with x? That's the slope. So what is the slope here? And what's the slope on the next one? Okay. Solve each equation. Okay, so solving equations we have reviewed several times. We're going to go ahead and do number 49 together. What's the first thing I'm going to do on this? Distribute. What's 4 times 8? 32. And 8 times negative 2r? Negative 16r. Bring these down. Okay. We need to move our variable to one side. I'm going to move the 16 because I don't like it to be negative. When I do that, these cancel. 32 is left. Negative 8 comes down. And what's negative 6 plus 16r? Yeah, 10r. Okay, and now we need to get the r alone, but first we have to move this 8. What's the opposite of negative 8? Yeah, positive 8. So just add the 8 to both sides. That cancels. 32 and 8, 40. Bring down the 10r. And what's my final step? Yeah, divide by 10. What's 40 divided by 10? So 4 is r. On all of these, on these equations, you should get whole numbers. Okay, and on the back of that page, page 6. Oh wait, page 1. We're starting over. All right, so we start over again. So repeat information and check to make sure that you can do it on your own. So we have all for hypotenuse, all for finding the leg. So this one you're going to subtract on this side. On the back of that, tell me if it's a right triangle or not. And then we're doing our transformations. We'll do slope again. And then the final thing, you'll be solving equations. Be sure to show your work for solving these equations.